Thanks, Elson. And now we have Ailie Johnson, who's the executive director, executive operations specialist with Chugach Alaska Corporation, to talk about Nuchek, past, present, and future. Thanks.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Ailie Johnson. I am the Executive Operations Specialist for Chugach Alaska Corporation. I have family from Cordova. I grew up commercial fishing, and I'm here to present on Nuchek, the history behind it, what's happening now, and our vision for the future. This is a picture that my Aunt Brooke took one of my first years at Nuchek Spirit Camp. It's one of my favorite pictures of the camp. Next slide. Perfect. So to kind of orient you on where Nuchek is, it's off of Hinchinbrook Island, kind of near Cordova and at the entrance of the Sound. So here's a picture on a really nice day in the Sound, which is hard to come by. But this is a picture of Nuchek Island with the mountains behind it. And if you go to the next slide, here's another really good picture of the island and the land. As you can see here, these are the facilities out at Nuchek. There's about 60 buildings, and Nuchek Spirit Camp has been running for 31 years, and we're slowly expanding the site. It's a spirit camp that runs for 2 weeks in July for youth and elders. I went myself when I was a kid. I still go now as an adult. And there's also a caretaker that lives out there year-round to kind of protect the site and make sure it's still running. Go to the next slide. This is a picture of place names around the Nuchek area. And as you can see, the dots each represent a different place name. And you can see the concentration of place names around Nuchek Island, which shows that it's a very important and impactful place for generations, and an important place where many of our ancestors are from. Perfect. So now we're going to go into a bit of history. This slide shows Porpoise Rocks, which is what was shown on the first slide. It's kind of the symbol of the area. Every time I think about Nuchek, I think about Porpoise Rocks. If you go to the next. This is a map of Nuchek from 1787 by Nathaniel Portlock, and he was a British fur trader and ship captain. This kind of shows that early on, is this? Oh, perfect. Thank you. Cool. This kind of shows that, early on there was Western expansion into the Nuchek area, which shows that there's been a lot of contact with Western countries, which we will get into. Oops. Cool. So this is a picture of Captain Cook coming by Nuchek to trade. He was a British Royal Navy officer. And you can see those are some of our traditional boats. And then we also have another picture of the Chugach people trading. And as you can see, our traditional boats are shown, which I will talk about in a little bit. And then this is a picture of Captain Cook trading up near Tititlik, which is further up the Sound at Snug Corner Cove. This kind of shows that a lot of these explorers started at Nuchek and expanded into the Prince William Sound, so we've had a lot of contact with these individuals. And then these are warrior armor plates from either Nuchek or Tititlik, we aren't quite sure, and they were collected by Captain Cook, and you can see some of our traditional designs as well as masks displayed on some of the fancier ones, and then kind of a normal one to your left. This is Nuchek Village. Alaska Commercial Company had a trading post throughout the 19th century at the village. And there's actually been a couple different trading posts there that have kind of taken place, but this was one of them. And then the next one. Now this is called a barabra. So it's a house that was located at Nuchek with a roof made of sheets of bark, and then in between the sheets of bark, they stuffed grass and mud to keep it waterproof because, as we know, the sound is quite rainy. So anything to keep things dry is really beneficial. So that's kind of the houses that were out there. And then this is a picture of Peter Chimovisky. He was the last chief of Nuchek, and he is also my great, 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 great uncle. It's 4 greats. But it just shows kind of the impact of Nuchek and the lineage of people that were there, because now, so many years later, I go out to Nuchek to experience culture, and the last chief of Nuchek is part of my lineage. So it just kind of shows how impactful Nuchek as a spirit camp is. We go to the next one. This is also a picture of Peter. This is him with his family. And as you can see, he has a badge, and he was the first Native police officer in Prince William Sound. These 2 guys are Makari and Fred. They're 2 of Peter's brothers. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, Makari is the one that's my direct lineage. If you go to the next, it's another brother, and his name was Paul Eli. So this is a picture of the first Russian Orthodox church in Prince William Sound at Nuchek. In the late 1790s, Russia came to the area and built a fortress and a trading center called Fort St. Constantine and Helen, which kind of shows the influence of Russian Orthodox in the region. And fun fact, this church was the first Russian Orthodox church built before any Russian Orthodox church in Anchorage. So after some time, they relocated the church icons from the church in Nuchek to Cordova. Then this is a picture of the church dedication in Cordova. And then, full circle moment, in 2000, they rebuilt the Russian Orthodox Church at Nuchek on the original foundation, and the icons were moved back. And as you can see, the guy in the blue hat, that's John Johnson. If you've met him before at Chugach, he's kind of our cultural guy. So yeah, it's kind of a full circle moment. He's the one that taught me a lot of this, and he's also my grandpa's cousin. But, learning from an elder to teach culture to other people my age and beyond has been a really important thing that I've learned at Chugach. And then this is just a picture we all really like. This is Alex Moonen and Henry McCarka singing and dancing out at Nuchek. So we're going to bring it back to the present, kind of. So as a kid, for about 5 years before I started commercial fishing, I went out to Nuchek, and it was kind of the best thing that my parents ever did, because I think it changed the trajectory of my life, and kind of instilled culture back into me. So 2011, which is the bottom left picture, that's me with Patience Faulkner, who is an elder from Cordova, and she taught me a lot that I still remember today. In that picture, we are making hacky sacks, leather hacky sacks, and we sewed it together and put gravel inside. And if you still handed me the pattern today, I could still do it, even though I was 10 in that picture. So that just kind of goes to show how much I learned at camp. Other things I learned how to bead, I learned how to fur sew, I learned how to sing and dance, I learned how to carve, I learned basket weaving from Patience, which I still remember how to do, which I'm very thankful she taught me. So yeah, it just goes to show how important it is to have kids out there learning the traditional aspects of their past. And then in 2014, all those kids up there, they're from Cordova. That's who I went out to camp with. I could still call up any one of them today, and we would still talk like we were back at camp. I only knew them for 1 week out of every summer, so it just goes to show the bond. And then up in the top right, I was making a paddle. The cool thing about camp is the first paddle that you make goes to the camp, and then the second paddle goes to you. Now that meant there was a lot of 1.5 paddles made, because really the amount of time that you had during the week was enough to make 1 paddle, but everybody was really excited to make 2 and then lost steam by the end. So, but it kept the camp going. And so, as you can see in the 2015 picture on the top left, you can see we are holding paddles that were made by other kids at the camp in a traditional bidarka. So, you learn a lot out there as a kid, and you don't realize at the time that what you're learning is truly important. You're just like at a fun summer camp every summer, but it really made a huge impact. So if you go to the next slide, this is me as an adult when I went back after college to work for Chugach. They sent me back out to camp, which I found very important to me, to kind of reconnect with something that was so impactful in my life. The picture on the left is me with John Johnson and 2 out of the 3 of his daughters and his granddaughter. So I reconnected with family out there. And then on the right, those are all Chugach Alaska Corporation or Chugach Heritage Foundation employees that were out there that are shareholders and descendants of the region. So all of them either had ancestors from Nuchek, had some connection to Nuchek or the Sound, and learned from other elders out there. Which is really exciting, to go back as an adult and have all these adults who are also connected to the area teaching the kids in the region as well, which I find very important. So kind of wrap it all up. So this is one of our sets of cultural sites, but we have about 130 cultural sites throughout the Prince William Sound, which is extremely important. And you can see how protecting these sites is valuable to the members in the region. And this is kind of what we do, and we want to preserve these for future generations so they too can also be impacted by these areas. And this kind of goes to say, know where you are in the Sound and know whose land you are coming across, because while it may just look like land to you, it's also a very important cultural site to us. So just be cognizant on preserving the land and making sure that if you do come across an artifact or something that you let us know, because it's extremely important. And after the Exxon Valdez oil spill in 1989, a lot of these sites got looted, which we're getting a lot of these collections back for our museum that we are building in Anchorage. And we are using these items to continue teaching, especially to the younger generations, and teaching to keep these areas safe and preserved. So yeah, that's kind of a full circle moment of, how Nuchek impacted me as a kid when I thought I was going to summer camp and just having fun with my friends. But really, it changed how I view my life and how I view land in our Sound. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks. That was awesome. And I've visited the camp, kayaked through there a couple times, and it's a pretty special place. Any questions for Ailie? Yeah. Why don't we start with Kelly in the back?
How do kids find out about going to camp? And is it just kids who are part of Chugach, or is it open to other?
Perfect. So it's open to Chugach shareholders and descendants. Just contact the Chugach Heritage Foundation. There are applications. They close usually at the beginning of May every year, and camps usually the first or second week of July, or till mid-July. So if you know a kid that's a shareholder or descendant of Chugach Alaska Corporation, please get in contact with us, because I think it's very beneficial to send them out there.
Yeah, and Dale.
You may have mentioned already that it's a lutic, is that right?
So we have a lutic and EAC.
And EAC.
Yeah.
Both. Okay, because I've always wondered how, and if there's any mentions of the connection, because the lutic goes all the way out the chain, and has there any history of contact, connection, or anything like that mentioned or within the elder history?
This is a really good question. So there's been a lot of transfer within our region just because there's been a lot of contact with Western explorers and stuff. So you have the Namwalik Port Graham side, which has a lot of Alutiiq people, and then you have the EX side, which is Cordova. But we have a lot of mixture between the groups. There's been a lot of family transfer. But if you want a more definitive answer, I can put you in contact with John Johnson because he is teaching me all these things, so I'm still learning. But I'm doing my best. That's the best I can do.
That's good.